Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know we have been at this for a while, but I couldn't help but think today of a couple weeks ago. It was Greek Orthodox Easter, and that is what my religion is. And I was with my family, and my father, who was a longtime businessman but's been retired for a while now, always asks me what we're doing up here, and he always asks me the same question about once a week. So, did you get anything done? As if there's an actual answer to that in a black and white way. So we proceed to go through the budget, and I try and give him some specifics and so he can understand it without me boring him, as we all bore each other with this constant conversation. And he came up with his final conclusion when I explained about our big deficits and how we try and fix them and how we don't do things that I believe and folks on this side of the aisle believe we should do. He said to me, well, don't they understand what they're doing is wrong? And I said, well, Dad, I don't know it's right or wrong, but it's certainly a difference of opinion as to how we should change the state for the better. We were here a few months ago in December, and we did a bill to cut a deficit, and I remember bringing to the attention of the chamber that some of the words in that bill were structural changes. We didn't agree that there were any structural changes in that bill. Now we hear that phrase over and over again in regards to what we're doing today. Are there changes here in this document? Yes. Is it better than it was before? Absolutely. But the problem is, we need to ask ourselves this question. Are we changing the state for the better beyond today, next week, next month, or until the next deficit occurs? Are we cutting? Absolutely. Is there consolidations like we've talked about? Yes. And we're reducing that spending. So overall, can I stand here and say there are good things about this budget? Yes, I can. But guys, I have to say that if that's all I can say is there's good things about this budget, in a dire fiscal situation that we're in, that's certainly not good enough. What we see today, the past few days, and I'm sure what we will see for the next 6 months, is a picture. A picture painted of a state and leaders that get it. We get it. It's a picture of a state that's being put on the right track. It's a picture of a state that is giving people predictability and sustainability and moving the businesses and individuals in a direction that they want to go in, that we need to go in. But as with many pictures, there's a lot behind the facade. There's a much different meaning behind that facade. Picture looks pretty. Picture looks positive. Looks like we're making a real effort here. But remember the phrase, a picture in 1,000 words. What upsets me and scares me is the picture we're painting today about the direction the state is going in is not unlike a picture we painted a year ago. Not unlike a picture that I heard time and time again from members of this chamber. Things like, I think the budget is a transformational one. Things like, when I go back to my district, I'm proud to say I urge adoption. Things like, and this is my favorite one, I think it is one of the best budgets I have encountered in my 35 years in the Connecticut legislature. And all the while, folks on this side of the aisle are being called fear-mongers and irresponsible. Now, I bring those things up for the reason that I'm going to talk about. This is a serious situation. This isn't about painting a picture. This is about making a change. And yet, day after day, we look at this same picture, and I know when we leave here today, and tomorrow, and next week, and next month, we're going to hear it all over the place about the big changes we made here. But unfortunately, that's not going to change the future of the state of Connecticut. Do we have a responsibility to fix the budget in this upcoming year? No question about it. No question about it. But as we've talked about day after day, month after month for the past couple of years, how are we going to fix the problem? It's not about the Band-Aid. It's about the problem going down the road. And I have to say that we've heard certain people in this building, not legislators, who say that this budget is a decent budget, should be voted on positively. And that makes me sad, because we have set the bar so low in this building that if there are no tax increases, then it's a great budget. That's what makes it a good budget, because the bar is set so low, we don't talk about the fact that we're not changing anything in the future. And what really frustrates me is we talk about it as this is the only way to go. Listen, we have no choice. I've heard my colleagues on the other side of the aisle talk about this was so hard and this is difficult. Darn right it was hard. Guys, we're not in this for the fun of it anymore. This is hard work. People don't elect us because it's easy. For the 10th year in a row, the House and Senate Republicans have put out a budget. And not only have we put out a budget that was fully vetted, but this year we went a step further. And we went a step further because we have heard from businesses, from individual citizens, about what are you guys going to do about the future. Every person in this chamber, every person in their homes, every business, be it a one-employee business or a 1,000-employee business, they all have a plan. A plan on how we change the state of Connecticut down the road. This is now the 4th budget we've done, or some version of a budget, in 11 months. And every one has been a Band-Aid on the problem. Yet somehow, nothing changes. Nothing changes. We talk about structural changes, and I know that I hear from my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, there's structural changes in here, and I understand that there are different definitions of structural changes. But guys, we all know that there may be some things in this budget that roll forward, but there is nothing in here that changes the way business is done in this state and how we will change it in the future, except for this Band-Aid approach month after month. We talked about a spending cap, we didn't do that. We've talked about a bonding cap, we didn't do that. We've talked about mandatory voting on labor contracts. We didn't do that. We have asked for predictability and sustainability for our cities and towns by whether it be adopting budgets early by April 1st, whether it be voting supermajority on unfunded mandates. Those are all common sense approaches to what we need to do. I still, for the life of me, don't understand why none of that is in here. These are not crazy ideas. Spending cap was passed in 1992. 1992. It's 2016, no spending cap. But what we have to do, and we've all used this word in this building, prioritize. We have limited funds. I think we all can agree on that. We have to prioritize those funds. We all say we agree on that. But then we look at budgets and implementers. And we see money being cut, and listen, we all understand, no matter whether you have a D or an R after your name, cuts have to be made. They're difficult, they're hard, we don't like them. But the question is, where are the cuts made? Where have we prioritized what government should do? The things that are so important as government functions that we need to fund them in our budget. We talk about hospitals. I understand there's still funding for hospitals in there. But in our budget, we didn't cut that from the original. And then there's my favorite, which is the fire schools. Now, I have to tell you, I come from an area where we have a lot of volunteer firemen, and I am so proud and honored to be part of their groups. We have this issue of fire school funding. Once again, I understand there is fire school funding in here, but less than we put in our budget, because we believe so strongly that what firefighters do, particularly volunteers who put their life at jeopardy every day, is something that's a core government function. We don't believe that that should be put as an extra charge on an insurance policy, because we can't prioritize our money properly. We have prioritized those things. And I get we all have different priorities. I get it. But we all talk about, if I hear about hospitals and firefighters and nonprofits and disabled population, we all talk that good game. But at the end of the day, who takes the action? Who takes the action? We've prioritized our nonprofits in our plan. We've prioritized the disabled population in our plan because we believe those are core functions of government. Time after time, we say one thing and do another. We see that pretty picture, but we don't see what's behind it. Whether I agree with this budget or I don't, I think we can all say one thing, whether we want to admit it or not. This Band-Aid approach is not working. There needs to be another way, and a solid, responsible, long-term plan with structural changes that actually affect down the road, instead of the next couple months, as we suggested in our 5-year plan, is something that should be considered. I'm not saying it's a perfect plan, but the notion that it's not even considered is offensive to me. And it's offensive to the people of this state. I know you believe, there are many people that believe that there are those structural changes in here, but they are not the structural changes that will affect the state of Connecticut beyond the next few months. These are difficult times. These are difficult choices. But you know what? They're difficult for businesses. They're difficult for hospitals. They're difficult for the nonprofits who do the job better than other people do them. They're difficult for the towns and cities who do their job better than we do ours. They're difficult for the disabled population. They're trying so hard to find a place, particularly for their children. It's about predictability, sustainability, and a vision. This doesn't have any of that. I am sad to say it doesn't have predictability, it doesn't give any sustainability, and it does not help any of the groups that we claim to help beyond the short term. And that's not leadership from this building, guys. Instead of doing something, we talk about doing something, we walk out of here, we pound our chests, say we came to a budget, and then we go home and tell everybody what a great job. Connecticut does not deserve that. It deserves better than a Band-Aid on the problem. As I said before, I certainly understand it is our responsibility to fix the budget for the next fiscal year. We have done that 4 times in 11 months. If we do not figure out how to figure out this structural change problem down the road, this will never change. Is this budget progress from where we were? Yes. But unfortunately, our threshold has sunk so low that just because we're not having tax increases, we have to hear, oh, it's good, you should vote for it. Because we are so used to burdening and punishing this state, punishing everyone in it. The state of Connecticut does not deserve this. There's a better way out there to do this. We have shown a better way. It is reasonable to sit down and have that conversation instead of trying to rush out of this building, as we do, stick a Band-Aid on the problem, go home and say our prayers and hope that it gets better. Because let me tell you something, I am not the only person in this building that has realized in the past 11 months that that way of doing it does not work, or else we wouldn't be standing here. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.